I just feel like adults should be allowed to do what they want as long as they take responsibility for their own actions afterwards. If a woman wants to go around sleeping with 1,000 chads, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. I can get on board with that. I'll accept her frame. Women are free to sleep around. 10 guys, 100 guys, 1,000 guys. Sure, so long as they accept the consequences. So what are the consequences? Enter science. There was a study called The Harmful Effects of Early Sexual Activity and Multiple Sexual Partners Among Women, a book of charts. This study had a sample of 10,000 women, and they have some incredible graphs I'm going to show you. I think it's important that we look at actual hard scientific data because we need that to combat the myth that promiscuity is a valid choice for women, that it doesn't do any harm. A lot of modern women think that they're completely fine to sleep around. It's a moral non-issue, and if any man objects, it's because he's insecure and controlling.
Think a woman's body count matters?
No.
What's your body count then?
You don't need to know that.
But if it doesn't matter, why not say?
Because it's personal.
If I asked you what colour your hair was, I guess you'd tell me.
Zero. My body count is 0.
Is it?
Yeah.
0.
It doesn't matter, but I still don't want to say. It does matter. I'm going to prove it. Let's bring up the first graph. Looking here, you can see the correlation between the number of sexual partners a woman has had and how stable her marriage is. Stability in a marriage being defined by a marriage that's lasted more than 5 years. And look at this downward trend. You can see that the more partners a woman has had, the less likely she is to have a stable marriage. Men who want to be in stable marriages, you can see it's completely rational for you to pay attention to how many partners a woman has had. Look at how high the figure is for women who have only ever slept with their husbands, 80% in stable marriages. Do men want to marry virgins because they're insecure and they don't want to be sexually compared to other men? Yeah. Probably, sometimes. But it's also just a smart investment for a man who wants to have a stable marriage. Women who have slept with 20 plus men, their chances of a stable marriage are only 20%. That's not good odds. That's not a smart investment. If you've got a choice between a woman who's slept with 20 men and a woman who's only slept with 4 men, you can see right there that it makes sense to choose the woman with a lower partner because it's going to double your chances of having a stable marriage. All right, let's move on to the next one. Yep, let's talk about the most obvious impact of promiscuity, which is an increased risk of STDs. Let's look at the data. Look at how high that number is at the top. For women who've had more than 20 partners, over 40% of them have sexual diseases. So for men who want to keep their dicks disease-free, it's perfectly rational to prefer women with a low partner count. Let's go on to the next one.
Oh my god, guys, I'm freaking out. What am I gonna do? Just kidding, I already scheduled the appointment.
That's terrifying. It's a terrifying video. Even if you're pro-choice, we're not going to acknowledge that having an abortion is a sad thing. This is not a celebratory occasion that we should laugh at that you're going to do this. And of course, it can absolutely devastate men.
Don't do it.
Oh my gosh. It's not right. It isn't right. I'm such a good dad. I know.
If you don't want to be that guy, then avoid promiscuous women because they're way more likely to get abortions. Let me show you. You can see here that there's a very clear increase. The more sexual partners that a woman has had, the more likely she is to have abortions. For very promiscuous women who've slept with over 20 men, 50% of them have had abortions. And even if she keeps the child, that doesn't mean that promiscuous women are finding themselves in happy marriages with 2-parent households. As you can see in this graph, the more sexual partners that a woman has had, the more likely she is to give birth out of wedlock. That's not good for the woman. That's not good for the child. And the best way to prevent that from happening, as you can see here, is to not sleep around. As you can see here, the lowest figures are if she was a virgin at the time of marriage or if her first sexual partner was her future husband. And look at this graph. Again, you can see the trend that the more partners a woman has had, the more likely she is to become a single mother. Primarily, this concerns me because of compassion for the child. It's not good for children to grow up without a father. And it's awful because children are blameless in this. They don't get to choose the families that they're born into. The data has shown repeatedly that children born in single mother households are at a huge disadvantage in life. But as much as my compassion is geared towards those children, I'm not blind to the suffering of those women either. Single motherhood is tough. That's not an easy task, and I really want to help prevent women from being in that situation. I know all these graphs are painting a pretty bleak picture, and I gotta tell you, I'm not done yet. The next graphs you're gonna see are even more depressing. We're gonna talk about the link between promiscuity and mental health and happiness. But before we get to that, I wanna talk about the sponsor of today's video, Extra. Picture this, you're on a date with a woman and it's going well. It's time to pay the bill and you pull out your wallet. Now think about what she's going to see. Is she going to see a big clunky wallet like my old one? It's disorganized, it's awkward, and it reflects badly on you. Or is she going to see a slick modern wallet like my new Extra one? This is going to make much more of a positive impression. Extra wallets are made of the highest quality. Mine's made out of Italian leather. I just click this button and all my cards pop out. You can see here my money's all clipped in. It has all the modern bells and whistles that you want in a wallet. It has built-in RFID blocking to protect you from wireless skimming. And if I lose my wallet, I can just call it from my phone. Even cooler, if I lose my phone, I can call it from my wallet. So go to partner.extra.com/AlexanderGrace and use the code AG to access the incredible discounts that they're offering. They have an incredible Christmas sale that has 55% off all their products. That is an amazing deal. I love my new wallet. I'm sure you'll love it too. Okay, back to promiscuity. For you guys who have done my course, you know that I'm a big advocate for women not sleeping around, for not being promiscuous, and a large part of my motivation comes from compassion. I sincerely don't think that it's in women's best interest. Sleeping with lots and lots of men is not going to make you happy.
It's a hot girl summer. My boyfriend we just broke up like 3 weeks ago.
So you've been running up the scoreboard?
Hell yeah.
How many points have you added to the scoreboard?
Too many. There's no limits to it, bruh.
I can help you out with that.
Okay, bet. You want my number?
Yeah.
See, I think this guy's a scumbag. This woman's obviously in a vulnerable state. She's clearly drunk. She's heartbroken from getting dumped, and she's dealing with her pain by sleeping around. But his thought is not, compassion, protection. She's clearly in a vulnerable state. That's bringing out my masculine protective energy. Nah, his thought is great. She's vulnerable, she's easy, let me get in on that. Let me take advantage of her emotional state and sleep with her too. Not infantilizing her, not saying she's not an adult who's not capable of making her own decisions, but that doesn't change the fact that I think men who do this are creeps. Having casual sex with women like that, contributing to their body count, is not helping them. You're not contributing to their happiness. And maybe you're okay with that. Maybe your moral compass is absolutely fine. If you sleep with some heartbroken, drunk girl who's trying to escape her pain, you're fine. You don't need to care about what's right for her. As long as you get to have sex, you're happy. Some men are comfortable being that selfish. I wouldn't be. But if you are doing that, at least be honest with yourself. At least acknowledge that what you are doing is harmful to these women. I've definitely pissed some men off. I don't seem to be able to help myself. I always alienate a part of my audience when I talk about this, because there are men out there who want to live in the fantasy land that says that they can just sleep with all of these women and there are no consequences. I don't know, they look at the graphs that I'm about to show in this video that clearly demonstrate that promiscuity is harmful to women, and they just block it out. They don't believe it. They deny the science. This happens to me on Hey Hero. I get people asking me for advice, and mostly I'm very supportive, but occasionally I get scumbag men who are like, how can I better lie to these women, or how can I sleep with more women? And I'm like, what in my videos has made you think that I'm going to give you advice supporting that goal, that I'm going to encourage that I'm going to help you? In my Hey Hero requests, I've made numerous videos calling men out on their shit. And that's not me restricting my freedom. You're free to make whatever choices you are, but you're not free to deny the consequences of your actions. This goes for men and it goes for women. We need to collectively stop the myth that promiscuity is harmless. The data clearly shows that having more sexual partners is not good for her. Let's look at the next graph. This graph, we're seeing the declining happiness for women when they've had more sexual partners. And I'll grant you that it's not steep, but the trend is absolutely clear. The more partners you've had, the less happy you are. And this one too, that tracks the correlation between how many partners a woman has had and her rates of depression. Again, there's an absolutely clear trend. The more partners a woman has had, the more likely she is to be depressed. As you can see by the numbers, promiscuity is bad for women. That's not my opinion, that is a fact.
I would like to apologize in advance to my friends and family because this summer I will in fact be a whore.
My advice: don't do that. That's not going to make you happier. Spend the summer learning a new skill, read some books, go to therapy, do something, anything that's developing your character is actually going to contribute to lifelong happiness. Spending your summer being a whore, sleeping around is a terrible idea. The data has shown it's not going to make you happy. And men, internalize this data, accept this as the truth, because you're going to need to be strong to stand up against all the cultural pressure that exists at the moment, because there's this trend trend of women absolutely shaming men if they have any questions about her sexual past, if they have any feelings about it. Women wonder why men don't share their feelings more. Well, maybe it's because some of the feelings that we have, you tell us and they're not okay to have. Like, oh, you slept with this many men last year. That doesn't make me feel so good. No, she doesn't want to hear about those emotions. Fuck you, you sexist patriarch. You toxic man. You don't get to have those emotions. Your feelings don't count for anything. Do not fall for it. Men, do not get suckered in by this argument that any man who has questions about her sexual history is just pathetic or controlling or insecure. No, he's being smart. It is an expression of self-esteem to have standards for the women that you date. If you say that you don't want to wife up a woman who slept with 50 men, that's completely rational. You want to make a smart investment in terms of your relationships owing to a future with long-term happiness. And in order to best achieve that, you want to find a woman who's had very few sexual partners. And all of this data that I'm sharing, it's not intended to hate on any individual woman. I'm just talking about overall trends. I want men to have standards. I want them to say it's generally a good thing if a woman has slept with less men, because that's going to provide a positive incentive structure. When more high quality men have that as a standard, that they want women with a low partner count, if women want to be with those kinds of men, then they're going to sleep around a lot less, which I sincerely believe the data has proven is better for their happiness. It's a measure of quality. It's a measure of self-restraint. It's a measure of delayed gratification. Men want to be with a woman who hasn't taken the easy route to self-esteem. Any woman can get sex. Any woman can feel desirable. She just goes on Tinder, goes out to the club, picks up a random guy, takes him home. Yes, women can do that. That's easy. That's an easy route to self-esteem. But you know what's difficult? Developing character, developing integrity, an integrated value system. A self-esteem that's actually based on achievements of personality and character. That's what men should be holding out for. And when enough men have those standards, then we might actually shift the needle. We might incentivize women to cultivate their femininity, knowing that if they want those top quality guys who have those standards, they can't afford to take the cheap, easy route. And now comes the nuanced question. Knowing all this data, knowing all these statistics, what do you do with the individual woman who's in front of you? Maybe she's slept with a few more men than you're personally comfortable with. Do you dump her? Do you trust the statistics? Or do you say, no, this is an individual exception. Scientific statistics is not going to capture what we have in our relationship. How do you decide if she is the exception or if she's the rule? I give a complete guide on how to answer that question in the full version of this video, which is available on my Patreon. So if this is an issue that you're struggling with in your relationship, or you don't know how to feel about this topic in the future with girls that you're dating, please check out the full-length version of this video. What I post here on YouTube, these are just the shortened, abridged versions. The full versions are on Patreon.